Hello! So today we're going to be discussing the midpoint formula and its applications. So let's start off by just kind of explaining what all this means. First thing, this looks very similar to the rectangle coordinates x comma y, correct? It's because it kind of is. It is saying that if you have 2 points, x1 comma y1, this one representing the first point, or it's basically showing that this x1 is different from this x2 comma y2, which is the second point that we have. And it is saying that if you add the x's, let's say you add x1 and x2 and you divide by 2, that is going to give you x. And if you have y1 plus y2 divided by 2, that is going to give you out y. And these x, y's are your midpoint. So let's go over some applications. So the first problem you're likely to see is something like this. You have line AB, points A and point B, and you're trying to find the midpoint. So what do? Well, we just plug in our numbers. 3 is equal to x1 plus 7, which is equal to x2, and that's all divided by 2. And then on the other side, we have y1, which is 4, plus negative 3, all divided by 2, is equal to y2. So we can break these up and say 3 plus 7 is 10 over 2 is equal to x. And 4 plus negative 3, which is 4 minus 3, is 1 over 2 is equal to y. Then we could just take these numbers and set them in our equation. Well, 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5, comma, y equals 1/2. Depending on what your teacher asks you to do. I would say it's fine to leave it in fraction form, but your teacher may ask you to put it in a decimal form. So your answer would be out 5 1/2. So example 2, we are given 1 point of, So in example 2, we are giving 1 point of AB, and we're also given the midpoint. So if we remember what the midpoint formula is, this is equal to x. We can equal to x of the midpoint. We can set the x of the midpoint, which is 5, equal to x1, which we'll denote as 3, plus x2, since that would be point B, divided by 2. And then on this side, we would have y, which is negative 0.5, is equal to 7 plus y2 divided by 2. Now we would just solve for the x2. Multiply both sides by 2, we get out 10 is equal to 3 plus x2. We subtract by 3 and we get 7 is equal to x2. Over here on this side, we multiply 2 by both sides, and we get out negative 1 is equal to 7 plus y2. Subtract 7, and we get negative 8 is equal to y2. And so our total answer is 7 comma negative 8. And that is our point B. So, one more. Let's say we have a circle, and in that circle we have the diameter CD, and they give us 1 point on the diameter C, and they don't give us the other point, but they give us the center of the circle, which is equal to M. M is equal to 4 comma 5. Now how would you solve this? Well, our knowledge of circles tells us that this center point is the midpoint of the diameter CD. So we could just plug this into our equation. So the 4 is equal to x1, or I guess we should just start off with a number, 3 plus x2 divided by 2, and the y, which is 5, is equal to y1, which is 4, plus y2 divided by 2. And we just solve this out, and after solving, 8 equals 3 plus x squared, x2, subtract by 3 both sides, get out 5 is equal to x2. And then right here, multiply, we get 10 is equal to 4 plus y2. And subtract by 4, we get 6 is equal to y2. And then our answer for point D is 5, 6. So throughout your mathematical career as a mathematician, you're always going to be using well, you're pretty much, throughout your career, you're going to be using midpoint a lot. And it's going to show up in many different forms, but it's always going to either involve 2 points or a point and a midpoint. So there's your quick lesson on the midpoint formula.